Hello everyone, my name is Saul and welcome back to Games by Saul. Today in the Game Dev Diary we are carrying on with Chrono Consort. Before we get into today's video, if you could like and subscribe, that would really help out my channel, and maybe leave a comment down below. It helps YouTube notice my channel and helps get my videos out there, so thank you. Once again, thank you so much for the support on the videos for the past month now. I just wanted to say it really means a lot and it really encourages me to carry on with this series. Last time we got the core gameplay loop set up, and this time we are going to be working on version 0.02, which I've decided to work on the Guildies because they're really starting to annoy me now. By working on the Guildies, what I mean is getting them more randomised with random stats, random names, and I'm going to try and design a Guildy as well. The game's initially going to have 8 races, we think around that anyway, but I'm going to work on the main one, which is going to be humans, so we're going to work on designing humans later on. So without further ado, the first thing we're going to work on is getting the stats to be a bit more randomised for the Guildies. Let's see how that goes. Hey everyone, so we're still working on recreating the Guildy stats. However, there was just something I wanted to touch up on. So, when I was recreating the stats, John and I were discussing a way to have like a framework for how leveling is going to work in the game. And leveling is going to work when a Guildy levels up, their stats increase. Initially we decided that all the stats would increase by a random amount, however there'd be a limit of 15. So they can't, all the stats, their increase put together can't be more than 15. However, upon trying this system out multiple times, there was always going to be a stat that just got a bit shafted in the end, and by that I mean it just didn't upgrade well at all. Like it would always do worse than the others, and it just felt unfair. What this led us to is thinking about how other games handle leveling, and one game we looked at was Pokemon. Pokemon handles leveling, so the initial stats of that Pokemon are saved, and every level they get about 1/50th of that initial stat added on, and we were thinking about it and we thought that could actually work quite well. The issue with Pokemon's leveling system is that when you catch Pokemon, you can kind of tell from the start if it's going to be worth it or not by its initial stats. And we thought, well, people won't try out different Guildies if they know the initial stats, which are quite trash. So we added in an element of randomness to it. What we did is by making the fraction which the initial stat gets times by a random number, you don't know how the Guildy is going to increase. They could have very high stats, but an awful fraction times by, so they only increase by a small amount. However, they could have really low stats but a high fraction the times by, so they increase by a lot per level. We think this adds in an incentive to try different Guildies. I thought I'd just quickly touch on some of the scripts that we're now using to handle the leveling just before we carry on with getting the stats reset up, because it's nearly finished. In the scriptable object for the Guildy stats, earlier we were doing it so there's a list of body stats and a list of soul stats, and there's an integer of how many body stats there are and an integer of how many soul stats there are. However, that was just dumb. It was just a really bad idea because all the lists had to be kept separate and I had like 4 lists in one script. So what I did was I recreated it and I made all the stats in one list. And all the names are in one list as well because they have to be. So all the stats, it does a loop and it just assigns them a random value of a base value plus a random bonus. And then that bonus gets times by a trait bonus because Guildies can have traits which could affect this. That trait might need to move to the stats manager script, I don't know right now. Then in the stats manager, there's just a simple function called assign stats. All it does, it goes through all the stats and it assigns a new stat class with the name, the value, and another value. And you're thinking, why is there 2 values? Well, if I show you stat class, it's a custom class which are really useful. Oh my days, this has saved me a lot. So this public stat class has a name, an initial value, and a value. And that works really nicely because it means when increasing the stats, all we do is we times by the initial value and we add it on. And it works more or less like Pokemon, just that the value that gets added on is a bit more randomised, and you have a bigger incentive to try out. And that's how the stat system is going to work. It might change in the future, but hopefully not, because this took me a lot of tries to work out. I'm going to carry on recreating the Guildies and the stats now. I just have to add in enums for the rarity, morality and the alignment. So we'll get onto that and we'll catch back up when it's done. Hi everyone, it's been a few days since I left off, and much of that was just due to me having a much needed break from doing any proper work and just enjoying to have some time off because I've now finished my first term of second year in uni. What I've been doing over the past few days is finishing off recreating the Guildy system. So now, all Guildies start off at level 1, that was quite easy to set up. Rarity has been incorporated into Guildies. I was previously doing it where it's just a start, like I just use the asterisk key and just that's the number of stars to get, but now we use a float value, and that float value will be converted to an image just so you get an image and we work with the float. That was easy to set up as well. The final thing I needed to set up was the alignment of the Guildies. So we use this graph, which you're going to see on screen now, and it is the D&D sort of moralities, so if they're lawful good, for example. We are using something like that, and we work out by using a coordinate. If the x value of that coordinate is less than 33, they're going to be on the left hand side. If it's more than 33, they'll be on the right hand side. Anything else, they'll be in the middle. If the y value is more than 33, they'll be on the upper row. If it's less than 33, they'll be on the lower row. And if not, it'll be in the middle. The system works really well. Currently we're just using a random number to assign it at the start. It might be changing depending on the traits each Guildie takes on. The alignment's a really important system for this game, because if their alignment's more in line with yours, they'll be more likely to follow your decisions in quests and do things that benefit you. However, if it's not, they may do things that won't really benefit you or the guild, but more benefit their own personal desires. I'll show you how this looks in game, you'll be able to see it now. So in game, I just click play, and if I click on the Guildie, you can see its alignment. So how the alignment's broken down is into a morality and an order. An order being the lawful, the neutral, chaotic, and true if necessary, because you can't have neutral, it goes to true neutral. And the morality being evil, good, and neutral. Those two then get combined as one string, and the value, you don't really get to see that, we get to see that, and we'll mess around with that when we need to. And that's basically recreating a Guildie's done. I'm now going to start working on creating a Guildie. I was going to do some animations, but I really don't want to. Not just yet anyway. I don't think so. I'm going to create a basic human Guildie, which is just looking forward. Because I've been working on a new thing, a little side project. Not a side project, just a testing out project. Where you'll be able to change the Guildie's colours really simply. So hopefully that goes to plan. So I'm going to get on creating the Guildie now, and we'll catch back up when I'm done. Hey everyone. So the microphone quality is going to be a bit worse here, but I just really wanted to quickly say, midway through the video-ish, that first of all, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But secondly, I want to thank you all so much for getting me to 200 subscribers before the end of 2020, which was our goal for the channel. Currently, at the time of recording this, we're on 208, and I'm blown away by the amount of support we've been getting recently. I just wanted to thank you all, and if you have any ideas if we should do something for 200 subscribers, let me know down below in the comments. But without further ado, your scheduled programming of the devlog will now continue. That sounded really dumb. Enjoy. Hey everyone, so it's been a few days since we left off, and I've been to work creating a Guildie. You'll be seeing the Guildie on the screen now. I'm starting off with a basic human Guildie. We're not sure how we feel about the design yet, it's good enough, but we might change it in the future. I haven't actually recorded any of the creation process so far. All I've done is create a Guildie and the idle animation. Now for the Guildie itself, the song we wanted there to be different Guildies throughout the game, so you could get one human, but it looks completely different to another human. I've been trying to figure out how to do this. A while ago on Twitter I tweeted about it, and I got told about shaders and using them to do colour replacement. So after a bit of research, I figured out how to get a colour replacement shader working. So what you're seeing is the Guildie shader 2. What the shader does is it takes in colours from the skin, from the clothing, and from the hair, and lets the player change it to more or less whatever they want. There will be some limitations on that. For example, like for this specific example, the player won't actually get to choose the colours, it'll be programmed in a design script, which will be the next thing we do. But there might be things like the player's own clothing which they could change the colour of. This shader works really well. Because of how it works, it means that I don't have to have like a hair object. I can have one parent object for the player. The hair still has to be animated, which I do in a sprite, but I can export that as a sprite sheet. And when I attach the hair on, it animates as it should do, which is really nice. The player also doesn't need to have hair. I can remove the hair quite easily if I want to. What I'm going to do next is work on getting the Guildy idle animation set up in the game before I start working on designing the walk animation, and we'll catch back up when I've got it set up and working. Hello everyone. So it's been a few days since the last part of the devlog, and I finally finished for what I can for this devlog. So what I've been working on for the past few days is actually finalising my shader, which I created in the last part, which I think you saw. And it works really well. I'm quite impressed with how well it works. Surprisingly, it also works really well for the animations as well. Like, I'm not entirely sure how that works, because I don't need a separate game object for the hair, it just kind of knows to animate the hair. I don't know why or how it does that, but I'm really impressed, so I've created a monster. So I've been working on creating some scripts. The Guildy design script just basically assigns all the random values for the colours of the skin, hair, and the clothing. It will also swap out the required material, because there's 2 materials on the Guildy, one for the walking animations and one for the idle animations, and obviously I need to swap them out when it's done being an idle. There's a Guildy animation manager which literally, kind of the same as the player controller, handles the speed of the Guildy and does the transitions between the idle and walk. It works really well, as you can probably see in game now. I also added a quick scene manager script just so I could click R to reset the scene and generate some new Guildies. When I was testing this out, I noticed there was a slight frame drop. We get around 600 to 700 frames per second, and when the Guildies would change their animation, it might drop a tiny bit, and I was a bit concerned about that. So I placed 50 Guildies in the scene to see what would happen, see the frame rate, and I got about 160 FPS. Now my laptop is quite good quality, and I don't imagine there will ever be 50 Guildies on the screen at the same time. But it was a good test nonetheless, and I know that while the shader idea might take a little bit of performance, it doesn't seem to be too intensive, which is really good to know. Now unfortunately, this milestone, version 0.0.2, which is about randomised guildies, could not be finished within the time I needed. However, we're really close to finishing it. All we need to do is optimise some of the scripts, just because I think the navigation scripts are way too messy right now and I don't like it, and to go through and create some Guildy UI, which I'll probably be doing in the next devlog. I just wanted to say, because this is probably the last video that I'm going to release of 2020, first of all, I hope you all had a great Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating. Have a great time and have an amazing new year. And I can't wait to see you all back in 2021, and I can't wait to see where the channel gets. Currently at the time of recording this bit, we're on 212 subscribers. Who knows where we could be after this video, coming into 2021 and leaving 21. I just wanted to thank you all for a really great year. 2020's been a bit shocking, but honestly this channel's made me feel really appreciated, and it's really helped me out a lot, and that's all because of you. So thank you all so much, have a great new year, stay safe, and I'll see you in 2021, or as the kids would say, see you next year. Yeah, I'm so sorry.